Podcast City Network. The Everett Lee Show.
Welcome everyone to the Everett Lee Show. I'm the Everett Lee. Today on the podcast, Ripper Blackhart from FGW, Future Great Wrestling, comes back on the podcast. We did a live show just not too long ago, a live Facebook live stream on my Facebook page, Everett Lee Show, and we discussed Spiderman No Way Home and Disney Plus show Marvel's Hawkeye. We discussed both those shows, and we discussed our takes on Spider-Man. We get in a discussion about that, talking about Spider-Man No Way Home, about what went on with the film, the surprise cameos, and we moved along talking about discussing Hawkeye and a lot of different information, going back to the comics with both Spider-Man and Hawkeye. Ripper Blackhart, I love having him come on because he has that extra knowledge of that stuff that really helps, that puts in the missing pieces on why they did this or did that when it comes to the world of comic books being transition onto the big screen, especially with MCU and DC. But you get to hear some interaction from comments during that live stream during this podcast. But it was great. It's great. As always happened, Ripper Blackhart, come on. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen. Ripper Blackhart and myself discussing Spider-Man No Way Home and Hawkeye. Once again, back on the Everett Lee Show is none other than Future Great Wrestling's Ripper Blackhart. How you doing, Ripper?
Hey, how you doing, Everett? It's been a minute.
It has, man. It has been a minute, man. It's been a while since I last had you on, man. I missed you when I was going over discussing Loki when I had Chris Carnage on.
I was supposed to do that, if I remember right. It was about a year ago, this time a year ago, and I got hit with the COVID. I was like, man, I don't feel good, and then I found out a few days later, hey, yeah, you know why you don't feel good? Because you got COVID.
Oh, man. Nothing keeps a black heart down, right?
Yeah, it kept me down for about 2 weeks, and then I was good to go.
Oh, man. Well, I'm glad you got through it, and you're here with me tonight to discuss Spider-Man No Way Home, man. And let's hit to the split screen here. Boom. Look at that split screen. Got the three Spider-Man. Of course, if you didn't already see the movie, you know Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are back in it, along with some other cameos, which we'll discuss. And what a hell of a film, don't you think there, Ripper? What a hell of a film. This is...
Yeah, I mean, it embodies everything that Spider-Man is. I mean, of course it has its haters. There's always going to be people you can't please, regardless, of what it is. But Superman, yeah, I ain't even been drinking yet. Spider-Man is Marvel. He's that underdog, but he's the guy that he's always hopeful.
Yes.
No matter how much crap gets thrown his way, and a lot of crap gets thrown Peter Parker's way, like throughout the years, it's just been, pretty much, in lack of a better term, a total shit show at times for Peter Parker. But he prevails because he just keeps going on. And that's kind of what this movie, as I felt when I was seeing it, is like the total embodiment of Peter Parker's Spider-Man, regardless of which one you think's the best. Whether it be Andrew Garfield, who was in it, you lying sack of shit. You lying sack of shit, Andrew Garfield. Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland.
Yeah. You had to me, Ripper, I believe all three of the best actors that could play Spider-Man sharing the screen at the same time. Tobey Maguire was up first with his Spider-Man, with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. We've seen how that played out in all three of those. And then next was Andrew Garfield with The Amazing Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man 2. We've seen how that played out with him and for him. And then next was Tom Holland taking a stab at it, man. And he pretty much, each Spider-Man brings something different and brings their own version of Spider-Man to that character, don't you think?
Well, yeah, and if you think about it too, had the deal with Sony and Disney hadn't happened, we probably would have got Amazing Spider-Man 3 with Andrew Garfield. Now, here's how I look at it. I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man. I never bought him as Peter Parker. And then that's the opposite with Andrew Garfield. To me, Andrew Garfield was the perfect Peter Parker, except because he was the science nerd and he was kind of kept to himself and a little bit of a loner and all that stuff. And I really like Andrew Garfield's portrayal of Peter Parker. And,
right.
And I like Tom Holland. What's good about Tom Holland's portrayal of it is through 3 movies, they, even though, what is he, like 25 or something like that, but they portrayed him as a high school kid the whole time.
Right.
And which you got to figure, when Spider-Man first came out, that's what he was. He's fighting all these villains, but he's just a kid. He's got to get up and go to school next day, man. He's got a chemistry test, that he didn't study for because Doc Ock had to be an asshole,
That pretty much sums it up, man. Yeah. Andrew Garfield, he was more of the more scientist version of, which
I like my Peter that way. Sam Raimi said the reason they didn't do the web shooters, is because they said, if Peter's supposed to be that smart to be working for NASA, I'm like, hey, dumbass, pick up a comic. Peter's that smart.
Yeah,
he's supposed to be that smart. That's part of the charm of Spider-Man is that he created that shit.
Yeah.
And that's one of my favorite scenes, though, in the movies when he does that, and they like, he's like, you guys can't do that?
Yeah.
McGuire's like, you guys can't do that? And then was it Andrew Garfield? I can't remember if it was Andrew or Tom Holland's like, does it just come out of your wrist? Or he's like, just out of my wrist.
Just out of my wrist. Like any other place?
Yeah.
That was a great moment there. And yeah, it's just, all 3 of them just brought something different. Like I was going to say, Tobey Maguire, his Peter Parker focused more on photography, which Peter was a photographer, and then Andrews was more of a scientist, So it was kind of like, you had 2 different embodies of a Spider-Man, and then you had Tom Holland's.
Tobey Maguire's too he was trying to make money to impress Mary Jane.
Oh yeah, of course, just like in the comic.
Trying to impress Mary Jane.
Yeah,
the Tobey Maguire one. He's like he's the geek next door to the hot chick. And he wants to impress the hot chick. Everything he did, in the beginning of the movie, what he was doing was so he could get money to buy the car to impress Mary Jane.
Yeah.
Where Amazing Spider-Man did it more correctly because Gwen Stacy was around before Mary Jane.
Yeah.
So that's what they started with was Gwen Stacy. And how that played out and all that. Then the MCU, it's not Gwen Stacy. It's not even Mary Jane in the first movie. It's the Vulture's daughter. What the hell?
Yeah, a little bit different there. A little bit different.
By the way, shit tons of spoilers. If you ain't seen this movie yet,
yes.
And if you ain't watched, we're going to be talking about Hawkeye too. If you ain't watched all of Hawkeye, I don't know what the hell you goddamn waiting for.
Yeah.
But if you don't want anything spoiled, you probably shouldn't watch this because I'm not. It's been out for 3 weeks now? 2 weeks?
Yeah, about 2 weeks now. Pretty much.
the series, the Hawkeye series, wrapped up last week, last Wednesday. So, hey, if you ain't caught up, piss on you.
Yep,
Catch
it's your
up.
fault. It's your fault.
It's not on us. That's not me and Everett. We did the work. We watched it. We did the work.
Exactly.
We put money in the mouse's pocket.
Exactly. So if you come here just to see us and you haven't seen the movie, you're going to get spoiled. But if you just want to stick around and get spoiled, that's on you, like Ripper said. But we're going to dive into this, man. We're definitely going to dive into this, talking about this. The one thing I have to say is how this movie starts off, Ripper. It hits the gas and does not let off in that first few minutes of that movie. It picks directly right up from where Far From Home left off, where the video Mysterio revealing who Spider-Man was, Peter Parker, and you get to see the outcome there, and him taking Mary Jane, and everyone following him around New York. And the great moment was when they went back to the apartment there, and Aunt May and I guess Happy kind of like broke up but didn't break up. I don't know if it was just like it was a best friends with benefits relationship they had, who knows. But they're like asking Peter what's going on and stuff, and he's trying to make it conspicuous, and he's trying to tell them, and then he's freaking out about them at the same time. And then finally, when they turn on the TV, they can't ignore it. Peter's out as Spider-Man, and I think it was Happy said something that was like, well, same thing happened to Tony, but he handled it pretty well.
Yeah.
How was that?
But Tony didn't have Jane Jonah Jameson, who's already trying to smear his name, and then Mysterio totally setting him up the way he did. When Tony started, and what go back to that was when I was a kid, the cover stories always was Iron Man was Tony Stark's bodyguard, and they said so in the first Iron Man when he's going over his statement, he's like, really, I'm supposed to say he's my bodyguard, blah blah blah, which I found funny. But what I liked about this movie too is it gave you everything you hoped for. You wanted to see all the villains. They even in credit scene, you got to see Venom.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, the mid-credit scene. Yeah, the mid-credit scene, man. I liked it, but I didn't like it until actually someone really explained it to me, because I went back to what Kevin Feige said. Kevin Feige was asked, will we see Venom in the MCU? And he said, a piece of him is in the MCU. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Boom, mid-credit scene, we got to see what a piece of Venom was that he was talking about that was left behind.
And there's so many fan theories now, because you have the scene where Ned is talking to Tobey Maguire, Peter Parker, about asking if he had a best friend, and he said, "Yeah, he died in my arms after he tried to kill me." and then Ned looks at Tom Holland's Peter Parker and said, I promise I'll never become a supervillain. Which is a lie, because Ned, his older ego is the Hobgoblin. So they are totally setting it up for the Hobgoblin to be in the MCU instead of the Green Goblin.
Yeah. They're pretty much. Yeah, I see. I didn't realize that, because I saw a fan theory.
Ned Leeds is the one of the older egos of the Hobgoblin. Okay. Which is basically the Green Goblin, but he's orange and yellow. So
right.
And then, like I said, they set up. What was the other thing they set up? I'm trying to. I had it here, and then I got on the whole Ned Leeds thing. And, the Venom thing.
Yeah, the Venom thing.
There's also a point where Venom. Flash Thompson goes into the armed services.
Right.
And if I remember right, because, I had a big point where I didn't read a bunch of stuff just because raising kids and doing the wrestling and everything else. But I want to say it was an IED. He loses both his legs.
Okay.
But then somehow he gets the Venom symbiote.
Yes.
And becomes and becomes Agent Venom. So a lot of people are expecting that to come out now that you got the... I would love for them, before they go that route, is to give us the Spider-Man black suit storyline way better than what they did with Tobey Maguire. I hate it. I hate Spider-Man so much.
Yes.
Man, do I hate Spider-Man. But for the miscasting, has the shoving too much shit into one movie.
Studio.
Yeah. That's the biggest problem. When a superhero movie sucks, I can promise you, there was a studio executive that just couldn't keep his hands off of it, or her hands off of it, or their hands off of it, whatever pronoun you want to use. But that usually don't blame do you see movies suck? Yeah, because Warner Brothers suck.
Exactly.
The Fantastic Four movie, the last, everybody bashes all of them. I didn't mind the first one so much, although they never get Doctor Doom right. But don't blame the studios. It was Fox. It was Fox that messed up the Fantastic Four, not Marvel. And just like it's not DC messing up these movies, it's Warner Brothers.
Right.
Same thing.
Right.
And that's why the Spider-Man movies really surprised me, these new ones, because you got two studios in a partnership with this.
Yes.
So how it is gone, and we've gotten good movie after good movie after good movie, is pretty amazing, pun intended, if you think about it, because you've got Sony and Disney who's getting a piece of the pie here.
Yes. Yeah, they're pretty much. Yeah, I like the partnership because Kevin Feige's like, look, man, it's like, here's the idea of Spider-Man. This is what we're gonna do. You had your 5 movies. You could say 5 movies counting the 3 with Tobey and the 2 with Garfield.
The 3 and the 2.
Yeah, you had your 5 movies with Spider-Man. So let's this is how we want to do this and bring him into the MCU. This is how it's gonna benefit for you, and it's gonna benefit for us, and it worked out great.
Yeah, and what a lot of people don't know is they kind of have that same deal with Universal.
Yeah,
Universal has the rights to the Hulk.
Yeah,
and they've had that same deal with Universal of being able to use him in the Avenger movies.
Mm-hmm.
But they haven't made a solo movie since.
No, they haven't.
And I don't know what the deal is with that, and all that with the Universal and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
If they ain't been able to strike the same type of deal, but the Spider-Man, like I said, the Spider-Man collaboration has worked out pretty good, I think. I've liked what I've seen from all the movies. Even though, he's a little more updated quicker than, with the whole Iron Spider thing he can do now. That was what, mid-2000s, maybe even early 2000s when he did that, and they kind of incorporated that pretty quickly into it. But and although these 3 movies are good, to me, still, the most perfect Spider-Man movie is Spider-Man 2 with Tobey Maguire.
Oh, it was great. And you know what made that film? You know what made that film so great was you had the writers of Smallville who wrote the story, because at that time Smallville was hot, and they brought in the writers from Smallville because it made the story flowed so good. It did. And Sam Raimi making it like terrifying, because when that scene in Spider-Man 2 when Doc Ock wakes up and his tentacles is taking everyone out in the hospital, it reminded me of Evil Dead, man. It did. Yeah. It was direct. It was so, it's like you do. Sam Raimi had his hand in this, man, and it's just the story was so great, and I mean, I enjoyed that a lot, and I was pretty upset for the fact that he got killed off. In the first movie, I was pretty upset that Green Goblin got killed off, because I was expecting him to stick around again, for a next one or something. And then Doc Ock, the same thing. But in the third one, pretty much Venom was taken out. Eddie Brock and Venom was taken out pretty quick, the way they did it.
I just want to know who was in charge of casting. And it's like, here's Eddie Brock in the comic books.
Yeah.
Big muscular dude with a flat top.
Exactly.
I know Topher Grace would be perfect, the skinny kid from that 70s show.
He needs to make a comeback, man. He's trying to break into Hollywood. His show was was done with, man. So it was like, yeah, let's cast him as Eddie Brock.
Oh, it was terrible casting.
It was.
I like Topher Grace. Grace, but
yeah,
I like Ryan Reynolds too. But when they cast him as Green Lantern, I'm like, that's shit casting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Deadpool is more him, because Deadpool talks trash. Ryan Reynolds can talk trash. So it was like his defining role of that. It's like Tony Stark. Robert Downey Jr., Tony Stark, Iron Man. Ryan Reynolds, Deadpool. He has that character there. But yeah, it's they cast Tom Hardy as Venom, which is perfect, because I was like, great actor. He's going to put 100% into this, because he does that. And I like the fact that he wants to do a movie with Tom Holland. He wants to do a Venom Spider-Man movie with him, which is great. Almost like how Ryan Reynolds wants to do a Deadpool Wolverine movie with Hugh Jackman. So I give a lot of respect to actors that throw themselves into it 100%, like Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man. And Tom Holland, I think, or I believe, he's done so great as this version of Spider-Man, because, like you said, man, he went through hell in those first two movies, and now this one here, all of a sudden these other villains started popping up from a other dimension, from a spell that he cooked up from with Doctor Strange, which
talk about another perfect casting.
Yes. Yeah, Doctor Strange, it was great to see him back in this again, and I like the fact that when he went to go see Doctor Strange to help, make people forget, he forgot about it. It's like, oh yeah, he don't have the time stone. It's gone now, because what happened with Endgame. Yeah. Then he's like, you're the Sorcerer Supreme. He's like, no. I'm not the Sorcerer Supreme, because I was absent for 5 years. That guy is the Sorcerer Supreme.
But now Wong gets to be Sorcerer Supreme.
Yep. So he's just chilling, and they're in his building there, in his crib, just chilling, which he was, because they had all that snow in there, which was funny. It's like, why is it like we open up a gateway or something? This spell, but he was wanting them to, make people, forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, and he messed with the spell. There was another theory. He messed with it 6 times, and which
then he was like, well, okay, can we make sure that MJ knows, and then can we make sure Ned knows? Oh, my aunt.
Happy.
Another thing, MJ in the MCU is not Mary Jane.
No.
Or she's actually Michelle Jones, they said. Michelle Jones Watson.
Yes.
So, now that she has totally forgot about Peter, will we see an actual Mary Jane Watson? Like her cousin or something weird, or...
Yeah. I mean, I was happy with this casting of like Mary Jane. Like it's this Mary Jane I liked was more like ain't gonna take no shit from nobody compared to the Kirsten Dunst Mary Jane we've seen. I like this.
It, but I'm also a hard ass when it comes to. I want my characters to look like the characters from the book.
Yeah. Exactly. So I was just like, okay, I'm thinking multiverse. This is this version of Mary Jane, and then there's this version of Mary Jane. So I was just, I've been happy with it. I mean, yeah, she don't have red hair. I was like, okay, this is This is good because she's Mary Jane, and she's great. She's great. She held her own. I liked how she was more into helping Peter with his problem with having all these villains show up, man. And it's fun. It was awesome seeing Doc Ock show up, and he's like, "Hello, Peter," and that fight on the bridge, and he's sitting there fighting him and stuff. And then when he reveals himself who he is, he's like, "Wait a minute, you're not Peter. You're not Peter Parker." And then he's like, "Biotech," and he takes that biotech and he incorporates it to the arms. And when Peter got a hold of it, he's controlling him, and Doc Ock's getting pissed. And then you see a glimpse of the Green Goblin, and then zapped right back into Doctor Strange's crypt there. And he pretty much, Doctor Strange is like, "Ever since you botched that spell, we've had visitors show up from other universes." And he's like, "The multiverse is real?" It is like, "Yeah, we've had all these visitors show up." And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "And I saw this elf, a green elf, flying green elf on a glider." Every time I see Green Goblin now, I'm thinking of a flying elf now. That was great.
I'm kind of sad that we didn't get to see Rhino, because they set him up for that. They mentioned it. They mentioned him, but they set him up to be one of the guys, at least in the beginning of the third movie, at the end of the second Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Although you did see when they were trying to shut the spell, and the whole sky and the shadowy figures, and one of them was, they were all shaped like different Spider-Man villains.
Yeah.
And whatnot. So that was kind of cool. This is probably the closest you could get to a Sinister Six movie, Spider-Man versus Sinister Six, without actually being the Sinister Six. I mean, they were still one short. I think there was 5 of them. Go away, dog. I think there was only 5 of them instead of the 6. That's why I was expecting Venom to show up, because of the post-credit scene in Venom 2.
Yes.
I was really expecting him to show up towards the end of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was too.
The dog. Hang on. Keep that thought. My stupid dog is at the door once out. Dog. Now he runs away from the door. That son of a bitch. That son of a bitch. Now he's going to go in there and bug my wife until she lets him out. And then she's going to come out here looking at me like, "Why didn't you put the dog out?" And be like, "Because he's a jerk."
Anything happens live, man, on a live podcast. How was it seeing the return of Doc Ock, Green Goblin, Sandman, and Electro? I mean, seeing these, and Lizard, can't forget the Lizard, all these villains that we've seen, man, and their interaction with each other. How'd you feel about that, seeing them interact with each other?
Well, like I said, when I was a kid, my favorite comics was whenever a superhero's rogue would team up. When all the rogues would team up. Because you think, why wouldn't they do this? Why is all these guys getting... Because this is the only guy beating them.
Yeah.
This is the only guy beating them, but they've got all these arch villains. Why wouldn't the arch villains all team up to take out this one guy?
Right.
So,
right.
That was always my favorite whenever they would do that in Spider-Man, whenever they do it in Batman, any of the comic book strips like that. So I'm always a big fan of the superhero team up supervillain team up if it makes sense.
Right.
The way they've done it in movies in the past, most of the time, to me, doesn't make sense. It's just them trying to get another action figure on the shelf, or they're hurrying. Like, I thought there was too much in Spider-Man 3. That was too much. Mm-hmm. I think they did it right here in No Way Home. There's a couple other movies where I think they've done it right, like in Batman Begins, you got both the Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul and all the crime family boss guy who's always in there. But the way they did it, it was all right. But the 90s Batman, there's no reason for Penguin and Catwoman to be together. Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze, and then shit version of Bane. I really, like I said, I liked how they did it here. I'm still not sold on Jamie Foxx's Electro.
No,
but I really like the guy that plays the Lizard.
Yeah.
I really liked his Dr. Connors in Amazing Spider-Man 2. Willem Dafoe was just perfect.
Yeah,
and
William Dafoe was great as.
Why? I'm blanking on the guy's name. I know it, but I'm blanking on the guy's name that plays Dr. Octopus. And he also, perfect casting. I cannot I cannot think anybody better than him to play that.
Yeah.
I mean, at all. They're you may suggest somebody else, but you'd be wrong that they're better. I'm just saying. He was perfectly cast in that movie to play Dr. Octopus. He does it so well. Like I said, I still would have liked to see one. I still would have liked to see him like a full Sinister Six.
Yeah. I would have liked to seen a full Sinister Six. The closest thing you could get to a Sinister Six. Real quick, Ripper, shout out to Jackson Breeze watching the stream right now. He put a emoji up of a liquor bottle that has a person on it with 3 X's.
I'd expect nothing less.
But this was the closest thing we'd get to it. I mean, Jamie was kind of like the comic relief there too. I liked it when he runs on the Sandman, and Sandman's like, you're not Peter. He's like, yeah, I am. I'm not your Peter from this time. And when they stopped Electro, he's like, can we take a moment and realize there's a naked black man right here in the middle of the woods, stuff like that I liked. And the one thing I liked was Doc Strange was wanting to send these guys home. Peter, the MCU Peter, he wanted to help them. Because Doctor Strange said all these villains die fighting Spider-Man.
Yeah, they all died in the movies.
Yeah, that's their destiny. But Tom Holland wanted to save them and help them. And what I liked about this was because if you look at 2 villains, one villain from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, there's 2 villains that was never killed. Spider-Man 3, Tobey Maguire, Sandman lived. Amazing Spider-Man, the first one, Lizard, Doc Connors lived. All the other villains.
I don't think they did.
Yeah, Doc Connors did. He lived because he went to jail. Remember the mid-credit scene where he showed him in jail?
He did.
Yes.
He did because Norman Osborn is supposed to be Norman Osborn. They don't say it. But it's supposed to be Norman Osborn in the shadows there. But did Flint Marco? I thought he got caught into the same thing.
He got away. Remember, he let him go. Flint left. He right at that moment when he left, and then after he left, that's when Toby went over to Harry, and that's where Harry died in his arms. After, or it was before, and then Flint, and he understood what Flint apologized for killing his uncle, or making a mistake, and it was basically a mistake he has to live with, and Toby forgave him, and then he disappeared. But I like the interaction with Sandman and Fox. He's like, so where'd you go wrong? And Jamie Foxx is like, man, I fell in a pool of electric eels. And he's like, what about you? And he's like, yeah, I fell into a incubator or something of sand, and it turned me into this. And he's like, Jamie Foxx looked at him. He's like, man, we gotta watch where we walk. Love that. I love that interaction, and I love the psychotic craziness of Green Goblin flipping like, oh no, he's bad, and all of a sudden he's like,
and that's how he was. When I was a kid, that's how he was.
Yeah,
Norman Osborn did not know what had happened when he was Green Goblin. No, it was like a split personality when I was a kid. When I watched it as a kid.
Yeah, someone said they were so happy to get the hooded Green Goblin. Can you tell me about that? Because I didn't understand that there. Well,
because the Green Goblin we got in the original Spider-Man movie, he had the helmet, and that's total movie Green Goblin. He doesn't look like any version of the Green Goblin that was in comic books before that. He always had like you said, the elf. He always wore like the hat, the pointy hat, right?
Yeah.
And he had the mask and whatnot. I think there was even a version where like he physically turns into that goblin looking thing. I believe. I know the Spectacular Spider-Man cartoon, instead of the pointy hat, they gave him the hood.
Yeah.
I also believe in the Ultimate Spider-Man, which the Green Goblin is much bigger. He also has the hood. So
okay,
it's just it's closer to the classic look,
right?
Of Green Goblin from the comic books than it was, because that was a totally new look. And once again, you know, Sam Raimi thinking he's smarter than the comic books.
Right.
Same way with the web shooter thing and whatnot. I mean, why would he go around with a rubber mask? Blah, blah. Dude.
Yeah.
But him wearing the helmet makes different sense. Well, I don't understand.
Yeah.
That's just it. Whenever people get in, people overthink shit.
Right.
That's how you got Alicia Silverstone as Batgirl, instead of being Barbara Gordon.
Yeah.
Being the niece of Alfred.
Yeah,
and it was like, well, the guy who plays Commissioner Gordon, it's not believable that he would have a daughter that young. But it's believable the guy who plays Alfred, who's 1,000,000 years old, would have a niece that young?
That's crazy.
I mean, it's just...
Yeah.
You know, these comic books have been around, you know, since the 40s. A lot of Marvel, most of the Marvel ones you're seeing now, the ones that are actual Marvel and not timely before, been around since the 60s. They've endured. There's got to be a reason for that.
Right. And
it ain't. I hate it when Hollywood thinks they know better. Like for years. You see, my wife's a big book reader, regular books. And if we watch a movie about a book, she goes, the book was better, and blah, 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 blah. And I never understood why you hate so much, but there's certain things in certain comic book movies, I'm like, why? Why was that done? It didn't need to be done. It was unnecessary. It doesn't improve upon the character at all. Which, like I said, Sam Raimi was getting Spider-Man towards the end, where Hollywood was doing that a lot. That's how you wind up with Shaquille O'Neal as Steel, you know, and shit like that.
Yeah, that... It was the 90s, man. Yeah.
Same way you don't see the X-Men in their uniforms. They're all in that leather.
Yeah.
The same way as Daredevil, Ben Affleck's Daredevil.
Right.
They was like, well, the spandex doesn't make sense. Okay, it doesn't have to be spandex, but the X-Men have costumes. They have a uniform. And when they first started, they all had a uniform. They were all the same uniform.
Right.
I mean, can you do that?
Yeah.
Quit trying to improve shit that doesn't need improved on.
Exactly. Like, want to give a quick shout out to David C. Russell in the chat right there from Deathmatch Russell Podcast. How you doing, David? And he says hello to Everett Lee and your guest, Ripper Blackhart.
Hey, I knew he would be. I was waiting because he's always on.
Yeah. He's always on, man. He is always on. Oh, yeah. So you're talking about outfits. Now, I liked this version of Electro when he gets powered up and he's shooting out. Did you notice that you could see the outline?
It looks like the old school mask.
Yes, the old school outfit, which I thought was awesome.
Way more.
Yeah,
than just all blue. Which that was based off the Ultimate version. That's the Ultimate Electro. That's how he is. He's all blue and blah blah blah. So you know, I got it. I understood it. But that's the difference between the MCU and the Marvel movies that were made before the creation of MCU. Is that they try to give you at least an homage to every version.
Right.
That's like the costumes, the Spider-Man costumes. Each one of them guys' costumes a little bit different than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
But they all, at some point, you can find a comic where it matches up.
Right.
To a version of Spider-Man. Which like I said, I really like Tom Holland's because it's so bright.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, he was just that was Spider-Man was bright blue and bright red.
Mm-hmm.
And it just defined the spider web more on his costume with the black lines and stuff for me as a kid.
Yeah.
So I really like his. I also like he has the little web things.
Yeah.
That he did in the 60s.
Yeah. That's that.
The 60s Spider-Man had those.
Mm-hmm.
I still think in the suit, like I said, I don't think he's the better Spider-Man. I think he's just the better Peter Parker. But in the suit, Andrew Garfield looks like the 60s lanky version of Spider-Man. So he looked more like the stuff Steve Ditko would draw back then.
I feel that Tom Holland reminds me of the I want to say Ultimate or Spectacular, where he's more of a young teenage Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I've always liked that because he's like, it's almost like coming of age Peter Parker. He's finding out.
And that's what these movies were. That's exactly what these movies were.
Yeah.
Is you got to see Tom Holland grow and become Spider-Man.
Basically, it's like this too. It's like the moment that what like really hurt me, and I think it hurt everybody, was that the moment when the fight with Green Goblin, when he had that fight, because after he was trying to help everyone, he helped Doc Ock, and Doc Ock was like, he fixed me, and he wanted to fix everyone and then send them back. And there's two things. I feel that with fixing everyone and sending them back, it makes up for people getting mad about Green Goblin dying from Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, and Doc Ock dying, and then of course Jamie Foxx, Electro, and the Amazing Spider-Man dying. So it's like these guys have a chance, but the moment that Peter's spider sense went off, which I thought was great, because I was like, what the hell is he doing? He's looking around, and all of a sudden, boom, he catches him real quick, and he's like, and then that's when Norman switched into Green Goblin, and dude, that fight scene was freaking awesome. Yes. That was awesome, man. They tore it up. But what got me was when they're in the lobby there, and Green Goblin, being Green Goblin, says, you wish something like along the lines of forgetting. He's like, you want everything, but you can't have nothing. And then that glider going after hitting, Aunt May, and then Aunt May, just jumping right back up. You're like, damn, she's tough, man. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, when she's like, I need to sit down, I was like, no, please don't.
Yeah, because there's no Uncle Ben moment in the MCU.
No, and
there's no Uncle Ben moment. So what they did is they switched it out with, like, you don't even hear a mention of Ben Parker in the MCU.
No, you don't even get that, man. And I feel that. Yeah, this was like the moment where it was like when she told him, with great power comes great responsibility. It was like, she's dead. She's dying. Yeah. She's the Uncle Ben in this for him. And then with him going through that, it was so hard for him. But I like the fact how they brought in the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man and Andrew Garfield and kind of helped him through it. They're like, we've been there. We know what you're going through, because when he
both them Spider-Man, both their version of Spider-Man got a little dark.
Yeah.
Right? Well, and they're telling you, hey, we went a little dark, and you don't need to do that.
No,
which, for the most part, Spider-Man's the fun-loving, wisecracking, and that's what they wanted to keep him as. They want him to stay as that. They didn't want him to go down that darker path that they went down, because they were both products of the late 90s, early 2000s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And was it cool? Did you like how they introduced him, man? Because it's like...
Oh, I clapped when Andrew Garfield came through the thing.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people knew who it was, and I knew right away because when Ned was, doing that...
Yeah, as soon as you see the outline of his hair, you knew who it was.
Yeah, and he came through there, and he was like... It's like... the people were clapping in the theater, and then when Toby showed up, the place went nuts. And I liked their first interaction with each other. And Ned's aunt is like, "Are you really Spider-Man?" "Yes, I am. Prove it." It's like... My aunt wants you to get that cobweb down while you're up there. That's, he's like, okay.
Just and then the wall. He's like, really?
And then it's like, my aunt wants you to clean up after you're done. She don't want you to mess up the house. Yes. That was great. But I liked how all three of them, the other two, helped out Tom Holland and helped him get through, like we said, with going through the darkness. But then Tom explained, he's like, I want to help him, and then all of a sudden Toby's like, I never thought about that. Andrew's like, we never thought about that. We just killed him, It's like, okay, so that moment in the lab and they're all talking about, everything and having moments and stuff, it kind of gave an update on where these guys, these Spider-Man that fans were of Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. What happened with Tobey Maguire's, Spider-Man after the third movie? And he pretty much was like, yeah, me and MJ still together, but it's complicated, but we make it work. Okay, I'll accept that. That's good. He's
so to me that tells me like they're going with the storyline of like back in the day. I think Peter, did he teach at Empire State? I want to say he taught.
He did at one point.
I think that's where that Tobey Maguire Spider-Man is. He's at that, and Mary Jane's the supermodel.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas Andrew Garfield hasn't met his MJ yet. Andrew Garfield's still going over all the Gwen Stacy death.
Yes, and that's how she died in the comics, exactly like that.
Yes.
which I thought was really good because.
So when he goes after MJ.
Mm-hmm.
And he actually saves her. It's a little redeeming moment for him.
Yes,
and
people were clapping. Were they not clapping in the theater when that happened? Because they knew that moment right there, wasn't it?
Yeah, and it was kind of a redemption for him. This time he saved her. He's like, "Are you all right?" And she'd heard the story earlier. She's like, "Yeah, are you all right?"
And he's crying. He's like, "Yes." It's like, yeah, redemption. What I liked was when all the villains showed up at the new Statue of Liberty for the final battle of the movie. And they're all showing up, and right before they show up, that's when they start talking about the stories of, like, crazy people. Like, like Andrew Garfield's just like, yeah, I fought a guy in a rhino. It's that kind of lame. But I like Tobey Maguire. He's like, no, it's not lame. You're amazing. I love that line. That was great.
I like because when they talk about how they can work in a group.
Yes.
Like, well, we've never been. Well, I have been. I was in the Avengers. They're like, wow, that's cool. What's the Avengers?
Yeah, Tobey Maguire's like,
the Avengers doesn't exist in the world that they.
He's like, what's that? Is that a band?
He's like, are you in a band?
Yeah, and he's like, there's no existence like that. And Tobey Maguire's like, no, we have nothing like that.
And that's why I love in the mid-credit scene with Tom Hardy. He's like, all right, run this through me again. Like, you got a whole world of super people. And he's like, yeah, and he's going through each one. They're telling him the name, and he's like, and then you got a big green monster one. He's like, the Hulk. And then you hear Venom's like, and you said Leave the Protector was a shit name. Shit like that. It's like,
oh, it was great, dude. That fight scene with all them finally working together and stuff, I thought was great. They, Flint, Marco Flint got saved, Connors got saved. Jamie Foxx got saved. I like the interaction with him and Andrew Garfield. He was like, man, Andrew's like, come on, man. What's Jamie Foxx's character's name, Electro's name? Max, right? Yeah.
Maxwell, I do believe.
Yeah, Max. He's like, Max. He's like, you've always been, my biggest fan and supporter and stuff. He's like, but man, he's like, I'm kind of disappointed. He's like, I always thought you were black and from Queens.
Yeah. He's like, you fight for the poor, blah, blah, blah. I kind of expecting you to be. But then he was like, I'm sure there's a black Spider-Man out there somewhere.
Miles Morella. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So,
yep. That's true.
I'm really surprised that, you didn't see some kind of wink, wink other than that to him. There's a lot of people complaining that we didn't get Spider-Ham. I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
I don't think we need Spider-Ham.
No.
I mean, you got him in. They're making a sequel to Into the Spider-Verse. You'll get your Spider-Ham there.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, just that fight scene was great and stuff. And then, of course, Green Goblin screwing up the box and destroying it, and then everything. Doctor Strange comes back. Oh, that was a good moment there, wasn't it? When Doctor Strange was going through the interdimensions. Now, I got to say, there's only one person that could defeat Doctor Strange in his own universe, and that's Peter Parker, because he figured he used math to beat him.
Yep.
He figured it out. That's how smart he is.
Showing you how smart Peter Parker is.
He's like,
Peter Parker is supposed to be extremely smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I like Doctor Strange's entrance when he comes in, and he's like, there's 3 Spider-Men. He's like, oh no, and he's like, no. They're all trying to help him, and then they're going to send them back. And he's like, oh, and he's like, okay, Peter does have a plan. Okay, I give the kid more credit, and when the multiverse started cracking and Strange is trying to hold everything together and everyone's getting saved, getting helped and everything, that fight with the Green Goblin, that last fight there, oh man, everyone saw what was happening, and he was like, Tom Holland was gonna kill him until Toby jumped in. And he's like, you don't want to do this, and then Toby gets stabbed, and then he don't die, and he's like, oh, I've been stabbed before. And
then right before they leave, Andrew Garfield's like, you're in a lot of pain right now, aren't you?
Yeah, he's like, yeah. What about the back cracking scene? Can you crack my back for me? He's like, yeah.
I got the same thing. Got a whole. That's another thing. These two versions of Spider-Man are older.
Yeah.
Than the Tom Holland version of Spider-Man.
Yeah, a little bit more wiser too.
Yeah, so they have knowledge they can give him. There's not much more you can say about it. It's a really fun movie, especially if you like Spider-Man. Anybody I know that's a fan of Spider-Man loved it.
Yes.
So, but like I said, I know there's some people out there that just don't, and I think some people are just too critical of something. Like I said, I find things in certain movies I just flat out don't like. Like I said,
everyone does.
For example, the Eternals. I have no idea why they made the Eternals movie.
Right.
Like I said before, it's not awful, but to me, it wasn't good. It was like all right at best. It just felt like them making a mistake like they made with the Inhumans all over again. I'm like, it's a niche part of comics. Like, it's not something that had any kind of popular. Like, see, at least Guardians of the Galaxy had that cult following.
Yeah, because of the comic. Yeah,
it had its little cult following, but nobody I ever knew was like, can't wait to get that next Eternals comic. Right. It's just like it's Marvel. It's the Marvel's version of the New Gods, which they're both created by Kirby, and Kirby artist amazing wise, storytelling he's very highbrow.
Right.
In my opinion, he's more highbrow storytelling, and it doesn't always translate well into a comic book. But Spider-Man, like I said, I saw Eternals first, and then I saw the only reason I went and seen Eternals is because the Black Knight's supposed to be in there. I love Black Knight. He when I first started getting a subscription to the Avengers, he was an Avenger.
Right.
So, but then he's not even a Black Knight in it, and he doesn't even get the Everett Lee blade until the end of it. Once again, more spoilers. That movie's been out longer than Spider-Man, so piss off again. So he doesn't even get the Everett Lee blade till like the mid-credits scene, and I'm like, I can't believe I sat all through this
just for that moment.
But, yeah,
right.
But
yeah, it's just for that moment.
The end credit scene, or maybe that was the end credit scene. The mid credit scenes introduces Star Fox, and Star Fox was also an Avenger when I was reading them in the 80s. He is the half-brother of Thanos.
The half-brother of Thanos. Now, let me ask you, since you're on the Eternals real quick, who are the parents in the Eternals of Thanos?
Well, it's been so long. Like, I don't think any of those are his parents. I think they're like same type of race.
Titans, because that's what Thanos was, a Titan. Yeah, Thanos was a Titan.
I believe they're Titans.
Okay, so they come from the same race.
Yeah, but like I said, then you see Star Fox at the end, and then the little dwarf character that's always with Star Fox. I can't remember his name. But once again, Patton Oswalt finds his way. He does the voice of the dwarf.
Puck?
Was that his name?
No.
Puck's Alpha Flight.
Yeah, Alpha Flight. That's what I'm thinking of. Sorry.
But he does the voice of that. Like I said, Patton Oswalt was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Mm-hmm.
There was something else he was just in, too, comic book-wise. That guy's in everything. But Star Fox, like I said, also an Avenger when I was reading them back in the 80s. Half-brother of Thanos, but most importantly, the boyfriend of the She-Hulk.
Yeah, who was the boyfriend of the She-Hulk? Who the hell was that?
Star Fox.
Okay. I didn't go that far.
And that's who we meet Star Fox. So I'm wondering if either in an Avengers movie after the She-Hulk series airs and all this other stuff, or if, matter of fact, they don't have some kind of encounter in the She-Hulk series.
Right, because that's going to be coming out soon.
Or they could ignore it altogether like they do everything else. Like you thought they were doing in the Hawkeye with Mockingbird, and then, spoiler alert, guess what? His wife's been Mockingbird the whole time.
That's something I want to jump onto here just in a moment. I want to wrap up talking about No Way Home now. Doctor Strange doing that spell of Peter saying, have everyone forget that who Peter Parker is. Which I was like, dude, this is going to be huge, man, because everyone's going to forget who the hell Peter Parker is. And they know Spider-Man's around. And they know who Spider-Man is, like, that's Spider-Man, but they don't know who is underneath the mask. And he was going to go tell MJ and going to go tell Ned, and he chose not to. And when he was at his Aunt May's grave, Happy shows up, and it was like,
Happy don't even know.
Yeah, don't even know who he is. And of course, Doctor Strange, when he said, I'm going to forget myself, So that was a big risk, though. But it showed, Peter, he pretty much, got an apartment, got a job, or whatever he was going to be doing.
Did you recognize the apartment? What did it resemble?
Yeah, I asked myself, Ripper, I said, why does this apartment look so familiar? Why is that? It looks
a lot like the one Tobey Maguire had.
Yes.
2 and 3.
Yes. Okay. And he's look at the scanner, and he changed his outfit. He made it more like colorful, like you were talking about. But it pretty much, I'm asking myself after the movie ended, and then even with the mid-credit scene, I'm like, where the hell are they going? Are they going into the Secret War story? Are they going to be doing that? Or are they, it's like, is eventually people going to, something's going to happen where Doctor Strange. He's going to come to Doctor Strange and kind of reverse, or what's the hell? I don't know what's next now. I'm at a point where
there's big picture wise though. You see, it can go a million different ways because all the movies are connected.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So big picture wise, there's talks of Secret Invasion. There's talks of there's going to be Armor Wars on Disney Plus, which is an Iron Man storyline.
Mm-hmm.
There's tons of different directions. You got Secret Wars, all this other stuff that they can draw from. I think it just opens up the door, like I said earlier, Ned to become Hobgoblin, for sure, and Venom in the MCU. Whether that be with Flash Thompson, somebody totally different, or a version of Eddie Brock in the MCU. Flip that, what they could also do is an Amazing Spider-Man 3 movie with Tom Hardy's Venom existing in Andrew Garfield's world. Because there was never a Venom. There was never a Venom in Andrew Garfield's. So now you'd have a Venom in all three of them. I don't really see them revisiting some of them, or since this came out, there's been an outcry for Spider-Man 4, Tobey Maguire. I don't think Tobey Maguire. I think this was it. I don't think
he's done. He's
do
done.
Anything after this. He was the first one to back out of the original Spider-Man 4. And then he backed out. Kirsten Dunst backed out.
Right.
All this other stuff, and there was, I heard different versions of what it was going to be. It was going to have the Lizard, or it was going to have Kraven, or it was going to have Mysterio. Which I was hoping for the Mysterio, because if you remember right, what's his name? Plays Ash. Bruce Campbell.
Yes, Bruce Campbell. Yes.
Is in all those movies in these little parts, right?
Yeah.
Well, they were setting it up for him to be Mysterio.
Yeah.
And he has been watching Peter this whole time.
Yeah.
So I really would have liked to have seen that, but at the same time, they killed it. They killed it with Spider-Man 3. They just totally they just blew its brains out, and then the Sony Disney deal pretty much screwed Andrew Garfield out of doing any more Amazing Spider-Mans. Like I said, Amazing Spider-Man 3, if they're going to do and continue, I would like to see maybe an Amazing Spider-Man with Andrew Garfield taking on a Venom.
I would too. I would definitely, because you got the Sony owns the Amazing Spider-Man, and they own Venom.
All related characters. Yeah,
there you go.
They have the rights to do Spider-Man movies and all related characters.
So there you go, right there. So you walked away with this movie satisfied. I did. Yes. I was so happy to see this movie. It's people are like calling it. Would you call it the greatest Spider-Man movie of all time? I thought it was.
No, to me, that's still Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
To me, Spider-Man 2 is still, and probably with one of the top 3. Depending on who to talk to, a lot of people count it as the greatest superhero movie. But top 3, like I said, I'm partial to Batman. And there's people that hate the Nolan stuff too, but I'm rarely partial to the Dark Knight, because to me, what I like about superhero movies, that if you take the costumes off of them, is it still a good movie? You take the costumes off of Batman and you take the makeup off Heath Ledger's Joker, and if it's just a guy trying to stop a terrorist, it's still a good movie. That's how I feel also about the Captain America movies. Captain America movies, I think, are done so well that, in half the time he's not even in the costume in the second Winter Soldier, so it's just a spy thriller. So that's what I like out of my superhero movies, that they transcend. That you could take, it's a superhero movie and that's what makes it fun, but if you could take away them being superheroes, but they're still that same type of character, it is still a good movie.
Mm-hmm. Michael Hearn says, "Oh no, this guy again talking about you, Ripper," and he says, "I can't stay, no spoilers," and I put too late. And he says he agrees with you. The Dark Knight is my all-time favorite movie, and it's one of my favorite Batman movies. But yeah, this was great, and I can't wait to see where they're going to go next. And I was hoping to see how this would tie into the season final of Hawkeye.
They said there were some crossovers, but I'm not one of those that looks for all that stuff.
Yeah,
I just sit and watch and enjoy Hawkeye. What I do love what I loved about Hawkeye was they had the swordsman in it.
Uh-huh.
And the fact that they didn't really make him a villain and they didn't really make him a good guy. He's a little different than from the comics, because in the comics he's one of the guys who trained Hawkeye. But he was a good guy for a time, and he was, in fact, an Avenger. Yep. And
boom. Background change. I changed the background.
So
to Hawkeye.
I think did I read somewhere? I read somewhere there was only one 60s member of the Avengers that has not made his way into the MCU yet.
Who's that?
Which would be Hercules.
Or yeah, Hercules.
But with the swordsman now being in there, all but Hercules from the 60s Avengers are in the MCU. You have seen a version of him in the MCU.
Michael said, "Were there no good guests available?" He's gunning for you tonight, man. Why don't you cut a promo on him? He's like, nah. he's giving it to you, man. But
whatever. Yeah, I'm the most entertaining guy you bring on here. You know that.
Hey, Ripper was first choice. Remember
That's
that.
Right. I was first choice this time.
This guy is on vacation. He has nothing going on. He is. He
don't have anything going on. Like I said, I'm off my shoot job for at least one more week. I got all this week and next week. Although the last weekend I have off, I have a triple shot. I got a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I got to go back to work.
Well, damn. Now, when you heard about Hawkeye, when they said they were doing a short 6-episode miniseries of Hawkeye, what did you think about that? Because there was rumors that Jeremy Renner said he would come back to the character if it was with some kind of like TV series, which he pretty much kept tight lip about. And when it was announced that this was going to be coming out, what was your reaction? Like, can't wait to see this? Or
yeah, well, I'm probably one of the few people that had the Hawkeye miniseries back in the 80s, and I collected the West Coast Avengers miniseries when it came out, which he led, and then the ongoing series for a while. Like I said, when you're a kid, you're drawn to Green Arrow because he looks like Robin Hood, and he has the punching glove arrow, and when you get older, you gravitate more towards Hawkeye because he's got the attitude and whatnot. But I also felt that it was a good way to go. I don't think Hawkeye is a strong enough character to be a 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
But a short series, sure. Especially the way they did it, where he's, he's ready to stop. He's going to show this girl, Kate Bishop. She takes over the mantle of Hawkeye in the comics, so that's kind of like what they're doing here. Also, like, they did it different, a little bit different. I did not read the Matt Fraction book that this is based off of, but I know plenty about it just by reading stuff and what other people have told me that's read it and whatnot. And they've changed it a little bit here and there, but the fact that, much like The Dark Knight Rises, where you see the wear and tear that Bruce Wayne has taken through the year fighting crime, you see the wear and tear on Hawkeye. He's just a guy, he's just a guy. He doesn't have the armor suit. He doesn't turn into a big green monster. He's not an alien god. He's not a super soldier.
No.
So they show you the wear and tear this guy has taken through the years. So the dude's got a hearing aid now.
Yeah. Right.
Which is way easier. I guess, did he go deaf? He went deaf, I guess, in the comics.
Yes.
Somebody restored his hearing, but in that Mac Fraction book that this is based off of, he loses his hearing again because someone takes one of the arrows and stabs his ear.
Oh, damn.
So he loses his hearing again. He may have went totally deaf. I don't remember. He went totally deaf.
Yeah, from what I understand, he was totally deaf, and Kate Bishop had to help him through the comic because the only way he was able to do anything was to actually interact or do anything was it's like he had to read lips, which made sense because Hawkeye, the only special skill he has is he's like precision on hitting a target with an arrow and just anything. He's just that damn good. And
in the first movie too, they alluded to him having like the vision of a hawk. Mm-hmm. And looking at stuff. That's why he was always up, being the lookout from up above. Like I said, again, like he's just a regular guy. He's just trying to get home. He's trying to get home for Christmas, but then,
his past comes back.
Ronin, the Ronin stuff, which was, I remember when that happened pre-Secret Invasion. He was Ronin for a while.
Now, how is this version of Ronin? Was it different? Or was it just about the same from like what we got a glimpse of it in game?
It sounds like he's a little more bloodthirsty from what I remember. And, I vaguely remember Ronin, reading anything of Ronin before. It was one of those where they tried to play him off as a different character, and then the reveal was he was Clint. They slowly started giving you clues that,
right,
it's actually Clint. Kind of like DC did the same thing with Martian Manhunter. They introduced this guy called Bloodwind. Turned out it was Martian Manhunter the whole time. Kind of same thing.
Right.
But,
right.
I like how he's taken on this responsibility. He's like, they think she's Ronin, and they're after her for the shit I did.
Yeah.
He's like, so I got to clear this up before I come home for Christmas. He's like, no, because he could have just left. He could have just said, it's not my problem.
Exactly. He's
the type of guy Clint is. And then also, the Kate Bishop character, she's a little rich girl. You see her get in trouble. She destroys that bell tower at the beginning of it.
Yeah.
And when she comes home, her mom said she has written a check for it.
Yeah.
That's a major. How much money does this family have to pay for that? Because that was some major structural damage.
It was, and it reminds me because I'm reading this right now as we speak. Right now, I'm reading that.
That's the Matt Fraction book. Yeah.
Yeah, this one right here. If
is that the
you're
LA Woman one, or is that the
LA Woman? Okay. Yeah, it's the LA Woman. I don't know if you guys can see the glare. This one right here, it's been pretty damn good, man. It's been good, and yeah, Kate Bishop spoiled. And what's funny is when she first, not to spoil too much when I'm reading there, when she first gets to LA, she's like, "Oh yeah, I got my credit card. My daddy's, my daddy loads it up with cash." And it's like, "Oh yeah, your card's been cut off. You've been denied." When she tries to go to a hotel, and she's like, "What? That's the only card I have."
That's what her mom does to her. I wrote this check. So I'm cutting off your credit cards for so long and blah blah blah.
Which
she's eating. They're eating together. She's like, "You got this," because my mom cut off my credit cards.
Yeah, yeah. My mom cut off credit cards. Yeah, Clint's basically paying everything. What killed me was how he's with his kids there watching that god awful production of
Rogers the Musical.
God, it's like, please. When I saw that, I was like, I looked over at my wife and I was like, God, please shoot me right now.
I love the part where they're like, "Hey, Dad, this is the part." He goes, "I know, I was there." Who wasn't there? Ant-Man.
Ant-Man, well, yeah. They got some kind of like mess up with that. I hate to say this,
which I was disappointed when they went back to that as the end credit scene.
Oh God, really? Really?
When they went back to it, I was expecting to pay into the audience and either see somebody else from Avengers movie watching it, or Elena. What's her name? Is it Elena?
Yeah, Elena.
Or seeing Elena watching it.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't. I'm like, really? You're not going to pay? Or maybe even,
something.
Paul Rudd or somebody.
Yeah, something. Give us.
To give you a little like, ha.
Yeah. Give us something. Give us something. Not this. Just, I was wanting something like we got from Hill, like at the end of Black Widow. I was wanting something like that right there or something. Which the end credit scene of Black Widow did tie into this because
yes,
it was crazy because when I totally forgot about that until on that episode. I think it was episode 4. Yeah, it was episode 4. It was towards the end of episode 4 when they're up on the rooftop there, when they were trying to get the information back from Maya. I think I'm saying her, the leader of Echo. Yeah, that's what I'm from the tracksuit gang.
The tracksuit mafia. Hey, bro.
Yeah, bro.
What's that, bro?
You know what they reminded me of? They reminded me of a gang you would see in the Warriors movie. They did. That's what I liked about them.
They were highly entertaining.
They were. They were. And Echo, the actress Echo, is really deaf in real life.
Yeah.
And I
read that.
Did you hear about the article where this was like her first big acting gig? And she was so nervous on being there because it was like she didn't want to screw up. And her first day on the set was when they were she was going over with Clint and Jeremy Redner and what do you got? Amanda Seinfeld, who plays Kate Bishop. The fight scene. They learned how to sign language to welcome her to the set and to make her feel at home. And I thought they went out of their way to do that for her, which I thought was really great. I was like, it made me respect Jeremy Redner and Amanda Seinfeld more as actor and actress for doing that, to make someone feel comfortable on the set. Because they went out of their way to learn to do that, to say welcome to the set, which I thought was great. But yeah, when they were in the apartment trying to find Echo's information in that fight scene on the roof, when the assassin got unmasked and it was Elena, I about flew up out of my seat. I was like, oh shit! I was like, it's Elena! I was like. And then my wife's like, who is that? I was like, you don't remember? And she said, no. I said, Black Widow, in scene. And she goes, oh. I said, yeah, remember? Because what's her name? Lady Hydra was like, oh yeah, we know who killed your sister. And it was like, oh shit. It was like, really? And so she was going after Clint there, man. And he didn't want Kate Bishop around, because it was like, look, I got a Black Widow assassin going after me, and I got the tracksuit mafia.
Not to mention her mom said, her mom was like, hey, don't kill my daughter. And you find out that she's kind of a piece of shit. And
oh yeah, God yeah. And I didn't really like the boyfriend at first, but then in that last episode I really liked him more because he was set up by her mom. Her mom turned out to be the biggest piece of shit.
I'm like, this guy's somebody. And then when they start bidding on the swords, talking about all the swords you have, and you see that mustache, I'm like, he's a swordsman. God damn it, he's a swordsman.
He's the swordsman. Yeah, I didn't know about that until I looked at that, and he wanted the Ronin sword, which basically what's funny was he didn't even bother like, hey, did anyone happen to see my sword I bought? Or picked up? It's like Clint just took it. I liked, out of all 6 episodes, I'd have to say, the episode, the two things I liked was, the first off was the LARPing episode.
Yes, I love that. He's like, just kill me. He's like, man, we need to make it a contest and all this other stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then that was my favorite thing. And then
he was like, I fought Thanos.
That was great. I love that. Just to get something back, and then to get the Ronin costume back, and then I like episode 3 because it was like that 43 minutes of like. The episode starts action all the way through, and it slowed down a little bit at the end. And when that episode ended, when the swordsman Jack had the sword up against his throat and the episode ended, I was like, oh, come on man. Yeah. It's like I didn't want it to end. But the trick arrow, that was some fun. That was the funniest shit, because Clint's death, his hearing aids broke, and they're driving. She's sitting there talking, and he's sitting there like driving, talking loud like a deaf person, would, and be like, it's like, how many arrows you got? What? How many arrows I got? Like something like that. It was hilarious. My favorite trick arrow was when they drove through the where all the Christmas trees were, and she shot that one in the front, and it grabbed all the Christmas trees. That was some cool shit, man. Those trick arrows, were they not?
Yeah, I like the part where she's like, you should have a boomerang arrow, and he's like, why? He's like, does it come back? He's like, yeah, it's going to come back.
And then I like when she shot the plunger, she's like, you got a plunger arrow? It's like, pop. and it wasn't nothing until towards the end of that chase scene there in the car.
Yeah. What
I loved, Ripper, about how that scene was shot was it was like a continuous shot, and how they did the angles and stuff. Oh, that was some damn amazing camera work, was it not? It was like, it made you feel like you were in the back seat with them as all this stuff is going on. Yeah.
It's a really good car chase scene. Car chase scenes that's either going to be or great. There's never an in-between on a car chase scene, They're either really good or they're just a waste. Doesn't really do anything. That was by far one of the better car chase scenes, especially for a series.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with these things. It's not that they're series. You're watching a 6 to 7 hour movie, really. After you throw it all together. I like where they're all on the ice.
Oh God, yeah.
They're all coming at them. That was a good fight scene where they're just right and left. They don't even know what arrows they're shooting. They're just shooting these trick arrows to see what the hell happens and whatnot. But the big reveal, Kingpin in the MCU.
Yes.
Played
finally
by the same actor that played him in the Daredevil series. Oh, we skipped over that on Home Alone, the cameo with
yes, No Way Home. Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
And he catches it and he asks me, how'd you do that? I'm a really good lawyer.
I love that part, man. And it's like when I was in the movie. I don't know if this happened to you, but when we're in the theater there, and go back to Spiderman No Way Home, when you seen the feet and you saw the cane, some people in the audience are like, no way. And as soon as they got that look at him, I bumped my wife. I marked out, dude. I go, That's Charlie Cox. Man, my wife's like, what? I was like, Charlie Cox, Daredevil, Netflix. And then the guy behind me goes, no fucking way. Sorry if she's my French stereo. I mean, yeah, I heard a lot of F-bombs get dropped in the theater I was at when they saw Charlie Cox. And, yeah, that was just a great part. He catches that damn brick.
The Kingpin is such a major villain.
Oh, God, yeah.
In Marvel Comics. So it's good to see that the end, like I said, another perfectly cast.
Mm-hmm.
Perfectly cast.
Yeah.
The Kingpin. I can't think of anybody better to play the Kingpin.
He's so ruthless, man. Kingpin's so damn ruthless, man. You see, he's just like didn't skip a beat, man, from the Daredevil series, did he not?
Yeah, and like they said, I'm reading stuff now where like the next phase where he may be the big bad in the next series of movies is everything's connected to him.
That's my question.
Everything's going to be more earthbound than the cosmic threat, which I would enjoy. I mean, how many times do you got to fight aliens and stuff before, something gets done about that? So,
right.
I would like to see like the Kingpin be the big bad over a course of movies or series or whatnot, just to put him up to that same level that he is in the comic books.
Exactly. Like, here's my question. You notice how they panned away from the off camera, like they changed the camera angle from outside the alley, not inside the alley, when Echo fired the gun?
Yeah.
There's something right there. I think that someone shot her, or she shot someone coming up behind him, or it's, we're gonna find out, because Kingpin ain't dead, man. Come on, man. This is the MCU.
I don't think they did that just to kill him off. Plus he's in the comic books they draw him like he's fat, but actually he's supposed to be overly muscular,
which he is.
He's that big because of all his muscle, which he can actually flex and prevent them from piercing. Plus, and the Daredevil one, instead of going that route, they had it where all his suits had that bulletproof lining in them.
Right.
So, if you didn't shoot him in the head, he's still alive. Plus, I also heard Echo's supposed to be getting a series. I
heard that too, man. I heard that too.
She's still going to go on. I hope they don't get lazy, because that's what they did. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was supposed to be connected to all this, and at first it was, and then they got lazy. They didn't want to try to do the work that they said they were going to do. That's the same way with the Netflix. There's a debate whether or not the Netflix series were part of the MCU and not part of the MCU. And the idea when they first came out was, yes, they were.
Well, I mean, they keep mentioning it. Jessica Jones mentioned it. Even I think Luke Cage did, and I know Daredevil mentioned New York incident. Yeah, the incident in New York. Exactly. They keep mentioning it, and you know why they're bringing them back right now? Because if you remember when they canceled their shows, they said these characters can't come back for another 5 years, and guess what? It's been 5 years. It's been 5 years.
I was hoping that they would have came through one of the portals.
Yeah,
England, because they were the street level the defenders of the newest version of the Defenders. Well, not the newest. The newest version of the Defenders in comics is a throwback to the Defenders from before that has Silver Surfer and the Hulk and Doctor Strange, and those were the Defenders. But when was it? I don't know when they switched over to changing the Defenders to all the street level guys. So there for a while, the Defenders was Daredevil, Luke Cage, Iron Fist, those type of guys. I didn't read any of those, but in the Netflix series, they were the Netflix series, the Defenders, it's all them. So I was kind of hoping in one of the portals at end games, they would have came walking out and be like, yeah. You know, or the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which they went way off the tracks with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., in my opinion. Same way that they're doing with Legends of Tomorrow with the Arrowverse. I mean, they're getting way off track with that, too. Both those shows are perfect opportunities to introduce lower to mid-level characters, in which, you know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., they gave you a Deathloke. It was a shitty version looking of Deathloke, but they gave you a version of Deathloke there in the first few episodes. They gave you a version of Absorbing Man. They were the ones that introduced the Inhumans, which that was a big mistake. It was all because we don't have access to the X-Men and the mutants. We're going to use the Inhumans, which they shouldn't have. They should have just left it alone. They shouldn't even have bothered with it.
Right.
Which, you know, that goes on with the others, like I said, with the Eternals and all that. I'm sure in their grand scale of things, but the Inhuman series was so goddamn bad that Marvel will not acknowledge it.
Yeah, because I asked you a while back ago. I think it was last year. Actually, I asked you because when I first got Disney Plus, I was looking at the Marvel section, and I said they got all these shows on here, and I said they got the show Inhumans. Should I watch it? You're like, no, don't watch it. And I was like, well, what about the Runaways? You're like, yeah, watch the Runaways, which I did, which I
Runaways
enjoyed.
Was good. Cloak and Dagger episodes were hit and miss with me. I wasn't a big Cloak and Dagger fan when they came out, but again, they say that stuff's supposed to be separate. But again, in Cloak and Dagger, they mentioned the incident.
Yeah. They keep mentioning the incident, which is crazy. And
then also Cloak and Dagger. Okay, Runaways started first, but Cloak and Dagger got canceled before Runaways.
Yeah.
So what they did is, I think the last couple episodes of the Runaways is they had a crossover with Cloak and Dagger.
Yeah, which was great because when I was watching the Runaways, and as soon as they showed up, it's like I text you because I was marking out. I go. As soon as I saw the smoke, the dark smoke coming in, and as soon as I seen the girl show up with the all white, and all of a sudden I seen the guy with the hood, right then and there, it's like the hair on my arm like rose, and I go, oh shit, it's Cloak and Dagger. Oh no way. And I was like, I text you, I'm like, Cloak and Dagger's on the Runaways. You're like, oh yeah, they got a show out. I'm like, what? You're like, yeah, it's on Hulu. So I did start watching it. I need to go back and watch what they have left of it because I never could finish it.
One season, Hulu also has one season of a Hellstrom that came out 2 Octobers ago. Not this October, October before. And it's right. And everybody's like, well, why didn't they put it on Disney Plus? I don't know, because he's supposed to be the son of Satan. And Disney's like, well, who was also a Defender back in the day and Patsy, the Patsy girl from Jessica Jones.
Patsy,
she becomes a character called Hellcat in the comic books and ends up being married to Damien Hellstrom.
Oh, okay. Dude, they messed that character up big time, didn't they?
Yeah, I like Hellcat. I think she's cool, but
yeah, she went off the rails there, man. I mean, I like Jessica Jones. I thought the first season was brilliant. The second season was kind of like, but the third season, I think, I look at it as wrestling as the third season. It was more psychologically than anything. It was like this villain just messed with her head, and it is like you saw what happened to Patsy. I mean, but speaking of like people being like psychologically screwed up, Elena, dude, was that not crazy seeing her from her point of view of getting blipped?
Yeah. When she shows up, she's in this. She's like, that woman's like, it's been 5 years. She's like, what?
Yeah. She's like, I just went in the bathroom and washed my hands. It's like, oh yeah, you're back. Because that was funny. It was crazy because it was right at the end of Black Widow. I guess, Natasha told her sister, go save the others. So she was going to go save the others. And after they saved that one, she went in there, went into the bathroom, and then she got blipped and came right back. And it was like, I loved how they did that sequence. I thought it was brilliant how they did that.
And then and that's when she found out Natasha was dead.
Right. We got Kyle Hawk in the chat. Hawkeye and Punisher are best Marvel characters all time. Fight me.
Yeah, but they're doing this whole thing with the Punisher now because they've got all that alt-right people taking the Punisher symbol and using it because people don't understand what the Punisher is. The Punisher, for one, is not a superhero. Was never intended to be a superhero.
Did you hear about the logo changing in the comics?
Yeah. And that he's going to be the head of the hand and all that. And it's because all these alt-right groups and paramilitary groups use that skull logo, and they're trying to distance themselves from that. And I get it, but at the same time, those people don't understand what the Punisher is. Like, you remember we had Mike Wood on here.
Yeah.
Mike Woods. And, he was like, I think the Punisher's time has passed. You should do it. I said, no, you need the Punisher now more than ever because he is a guy who suffers from PSD, and you have so many guys out there that suffer from this.
Yeah.
And he is showing, this is an example of a guy who suffered from PSD, and he's not getting the proper treatment.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was originally created as, Marvel's always been in the vein of whatever's hot. When he came out, the big thing was like the Charles Bronson movies, like the Death Wish movies and stuff like that. That's what the Punisher's in the vein of, is that.
Mm-hmm.
But Marvel, being who Marvel is, they always create their characters, for the most part of them, are flawed.
Yeah. Well, that's why
he's a Vietnam vet. He wasn't, he got treated like a lot of the Vietnam vets when he comes back. Mm-hmm. He gets back. His family's murdered by the mafia.
Right.
It just sets him
right in front of him.
It sets him off. That's, he was never meant to be. Even Stan Lee has said, Punisher's not a superhero. Because superheroes don't kill. He's an anti-hero.
He's one of my favorites, man, because I wear this hat all the time right here.
Yeah, like I said, there's all this hate to the Punisher right now, but the Punisher, he is needed. He is, he shows the dark side stuff. Everybody's had that. It's like, I wish I could just kill that guy.
Well,
the world would be better off without this guy, And he didn't really take off till like the 90s. When the action movie stuff came out, the action movie, the late 80s, early 90s, things were getting grittier. You had the action movie, the big, every big movie, Schwarzenegger, Stallone, all that stuff. That was really his heyday.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, Hawkeye, what I like about Hawkeye is, same thing I like about Batman in the DC universe. He stands among gods.
Yeah.
And he's just a normal guy, and he stands shoulder to shoulder with these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he's part of the team. Like I said, he led the West Coast Avengers. When the West Coast Avengers came out, Hawkeye led them. Yeah. He was the leader of the West Coast Avengers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was Iron Man was in the group, Wonder Man. Wonder Man's a very powerful character in the Marvel Universe. He was there. You had Tigra. Trying to think who else was there. You had those three. His wife Mockingbird, of course. We get back to that too. That watch, the whole time, the watch, you find out is her watch. It says Agent 19 on it. Agent 19 is in fact Mockingbird. Bobby. What was Bobby's last name? Adrian Pakalaki played her. I believe I'm saying Pakalaki. Played her in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Yeah, she played her in Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and I loved her playing her because she, to me, looked more like her, embodied her.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, she's a cousin of independent professional wrestler Benjamin Boone, who I know quite well. They're cousins, so it was cool to see her do that. But that's not the first time she was. She was actually there was an Aquaman TV pilot, like a TV movie.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah,
made that never got aired. You can find it on YouTube.
Yeah,
Justin Hartley.
Yeah,
the guy who played the Green Arrow in Smallville is Aquaman.
Yeah,
she played the villain in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think she was like his evil mother, his mother, but she was evil, or I don't know. I
remember that. Yeah, they shelved it.
And then she was Wonder Woman in a pilot that David E. Kelly wrote, but it tested horrible with the test audience, so NBC said, "No, we're not going to do it."
Yeah, we talked about that last year. Remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about that last year. Yeah, it's sitting on the shelf. Both of those are sitting on the shelf.
When she got cast as Mockingbird in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., I thought, that'd be great. She can get in the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't go that route.
No, they didn't.
The woman who's been playing, and the woman who plays his wife, she has been in so much stuff. She played Daphne in the Scooby-Doo movies.
She also played she was on the show Mad Men. She was Don Draper, one of Don Draper's mistresses in Mad Men. I remember her from that. She was also in Freaks and Geeks. Series. Linda Cardella. Yeah, Freaks and Geeks. That was her.
In that series, she was in the series with Christina Applegate on Netflix.
Oh yeah, I forget.
Yeah, it only had 2 seasons though, but yeah. It was good. Like, she's been in so many things. But you find out at the end of the series that was her actual watch, and that she is, in fact, Mockingbird.
Mm-hmm.
Which in the comics, that's who Clint Barton is married to. He's married to Mockingbird, and I don't remember having kids in the comics, though.
Yeah. Well, talking about kids. How'd you feel about the relationship that we got to see developed over in the 6 episodes with Clint and Kate Bishop? It developed pretty well, and do you feel that they're going to be setting up for a Young Avengers? Because that's something in the rumor mill.
I definitely see a Young Avengers, and Jeremy Renner said he would love for them to do a West Coast Avengers.
Yeah.
He'd be totally on board for that. They also could be doing a Thunderbolts movie,
mm-hmm.
which originally it was villains posing as heroes, but after they figured that out, they kept the group, and Hawkeye for a while was the leader of the Thunderbolts. So I could see that happening. Mm-hmm. I definitely see with Kate Bishop them doing a Young Avengers, if probably a series rather than a movie. Maybe even wait a little bit and have a couple other movies set that up, because I look for her to show up in the Avengers movie. I like how beginning of the movie he's trying to discourage her the whole time and be like,
yeah,
all this other stuff, and then towards the end he tells her, because she keeps saying we're partners. He's like, yeah, we're not partners.
We're not partners.
Yeah. But then the last one he says, Kate, you're my partner.
Yeah, that was a good moment.
If you're in trouble, I'm in trouble. Blah blah blah. You know. And you see her try not to tear up.
Yeah, she looked up to him, and I liked how she shared the story. The reason why I like you is because what you saw in the first episode in the first Avengers in 2012, when they're building up, blowing up, she was about to get attacked. He saved her. Yeah. He saved her, and
he said there was all these aliens, and then there was a guy with a bow and arrow fighting them. And if you could do that, I figured I could do it.
Yes. That I love that. It was like, you could do it, I can do it. And it inspired her through her whole, basically the rest of her life there. I liked how he finally made it home for Christmas with the family, and I love the fact that basically it's like Kate and Lucky. You can't forget Lucky, man. Had
well,
no
he's
place...
the real star of the show, is he not?
Yeah,
He's a dog. Lucky, not the real star of the show.
Lucky is, and yeah, he had no. I like the fact how he basically brought her into the family there, and I liked how he's like, hey, you want to do one last thing with me? And he burnt the damn Ronin suit. And he's like, no more Ronin. And he was like, when they were walking off, she goes, yeah, I was thinking of Lady Hawk. And he's going through the names. He's like, no. Yeah,
it's terrible. It's terrible.
terrible. So I was happy about this series. I thought it was really good. Had some really good moments, some great scenes, great shooting from different perspective and everything. And
I just like the fact, like I said, he's not a super soldier. He doesn't have the wings like Falcon does, and at least Falcon has a suit that enables him to do some pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
This, like Kate said it best, there's a guy he just got bow and arrow.
Yep. Makes it work, man.
He's just being a good guy. I always they always give him great little one-liners throughout all the movies too. The part with him and Quicksilver in Age of Ultron, and he says stupid little shit throughout all the movies that give you that Clint Barton attitude. That's what's good about Clint. He's just the guy. He's just the guy trying to do good.
Yeah.
Trying to do right.
Right.
That's what makes you drawn to him. And all that. Like I said, I was probably one of the few kids, like, when it actually came out, that actually bought the Hawkeye miniseries. Like I said, I bought the West Coast Avengers miniseries because Hawkeye was the leader of it. That's another thing. See, Hawkeye, that's what really draws me to Hawkeye. It wasn't so much that, he was Marvel's Green Arrow. Is my dad loves Last of the Mohicans.
Right.
Like, he's watched every movie version of it and when I was a kid, there was a little cartoon version of it that would play every year. And Hawkeye, when I think Hawkeye, that's who I originally thought of, was the guy from Last of the Mohicans is Hawkeye. This guy's naming himself after the guy from Last of the Mohicans, and that's what originally drawn me to the character Hawkeye, was because of Last of the Mohicans.
Right.
So I always thought that was pretty cool that he took his name from a literary character, because how much easier it would have been to call him Bullseye or before there was Bullseye or Jedi or all these other things. They picked Hawkeye. I always thought that was cool. That made him stand out a little bit more to me with that name. And like I said, I don't know the origins of how he got his name, but they'll probably do like 20 million reboots before it's all said and done about his origin. Someone should sneak that in there.
Yeah.
I think.
So yeah, I agree. Someone should sneak that in there. And the costumes. I like the fact how Kate kept on bugging him about branding.
He was like, what's that?
In the comics.
Kept telling him about his branding. Oh, the branding. That's so. That's the millennial generation with their branding and
the branding.
Their influencer. She keeps telling him her branding's all wrong. He's like, I don't want everybody to know who I am.
Nah. He's like, I'm not supposed to be seen. I'm a ghost. Yeah. I sit afar. I sit up in my nest, and that's what I do. And I like that. I thought that was great. She kept on talking about the branding, but the new outfits and stuff. Yeah, she got all excited. She's like, "Oh, you wore the outfit!" And he's like, "Yeah." I thought it was pretty good. It was almost like. Yeah, seriously, if you do look at some of the costumes, like, in the comics, you're like, like when you're growing up, you're like, yeah, this is cool. But then as you get older, do you not look at him? You're like, wow. And then,
there's some like there was a version of shit he was wearing in the 90s that was just flat out terrible. But I don't know why, but I always liked the little thing that I don't know why. It makes no sense whatsoever for his costume to look that way.
Right.
But you got to think, too, he was originally a villain.
Uh-huh.
Hawkeye was originally a villain. So was Black Widow. Black Widow was originally a villain.
Right.
So that's why his costume in comic books is purple. Because the most villains in a comic book is purple and green.
Mm-hmm.
Look at Lex Luthor, purple and green. Joker, purple and green. Green Goblin, purple and green. Purple and green is associated with villains, and he wore the two-tone purple, but it was all purple. So I think that's what. But I've always liked that costume. They went, like I said, with more of the Ultimate version, and the Ultimate's way he looked, which that didn't bother me too much. Like I said, I understand the movie makers not wanting him to look what they think looks silly, but that kind of stuff's what draws kids into the comic is the look of the character, and then what makes the fans continue to like him is the nostalgia of the look. That's, like I said, that's what I like. What MCU does usually plays homage to the, like I said, they did it with Captain America. They gave him the original shield to begin with. They had more of the original look when he was doing the War Bonds plays where he punched out. He punched Hitler like in the first issue of Captain America. They did it in Luke Cage when he escapes and he had that thing on his head that and it looked like the crown he used to wear, and he put on that yellow shirt and he was like, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
I like when they pay homage. And
Scarlet Witch. Yeah, recently in WandaVision.
Scarlet Witch and WandaVision Vision, when they went trick-or-treating. That's what they look like in the comic books.
Yeah. And what are you supposed to be there?
Iron Man, when he builds the thing, that's what Iron Man looked like when he first come out. With that big flunky.
Yeah, that was Iron Man. Yeah, they did it right. Yeah, the MCU does great doing that and stuff. And
so with the Hawkeye, like those costumes, it was based off the Matt Fraction stories. Those, when they had the folk wearing them costumes, they looked like the shit they were wearing in the Matt Fraction book, which was great.
Yeah. Yeah, they keep true to some, somewhat of the original costume design on what you've seen in the comics. Now, pretty much with comic book movies, Hawkeye, and like TV shows, Hawkeye with TV show and Spiderman No Way Home pretty much close out 2021 in a big way, don't it? I mean, great way to end 2021.
I said Spider-Man No Way Home, they gave you damn near the full-length trailer to Doctor Strange at the end credit was a full-length trailer for Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Dude, when
which did you watch What If? Because if you didn't watch What If, you need to go watch it.
Yes. When I saw that, I was like, oh shit. I was like, shit got real, and there's only one person who can make it real, which is Sam Raimi. He can make it scary. Evil Dead, man. He's directing this. When I was in the theaters and when we watched that end credit scene with the trailer for Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, when they showed Wanda on the screen, there was people in the audience that gave a reaction. I was like, okay, they've watched WandaVision. And I love the fact when he comes to Wanda and she's like, yeah, I screwed up. I made mistakes. And he's like, no, I'm not here about Westview. I'm here because I need your help. What do you know about the multiverse? And she's like, multiverse? Yeah, I loved it. He brushed off. He's like, I don't give a shit about what you did in Westview. I know that. I know that happened. But, yeah, what do you know about the multiverse?
And when they show that version of him that's obviously supposed to be evil Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Like I said, he looks very much like the Doctor Strange from the What If.
Yes, he does. Yes, he does. Oh, this is going to be great because apparently, from what I heard for next year, is we are going to get Kang the Conqueror in the third Ant-Man and the Wasp film in Quantum Mania. You will see Kang the Conqueror because you've seen a glimpse of him in Loki, but you will get to see him completely or something in
see, that's just it. You don't know.
Yeah.
Like I said, now they're talking about Kingpin being big bad. Before that, it was, Kang's going to be the big bad in the next one. And then there's always a rumor, the Fantastic Four is supposed to come out and it's going to introduce Galactus, or Doctor Doom, or like you said, there are so many possibilities.
Yeah.
Yes. I just want them to be patient with it. That's what's killed every superhero franchise. That's what killed the original Batman franchise. It killed the original Spiderman franchise. Or any one of the movies that just had like the one movie because they don't have the patience to tell the story. Like I said, James Bond was the best when it came to longevity to me, even though some of the movies in the 80s were just hokey as hell. They didn't reboot that thing until Daniel Craig. And then now they just ended it with Daniel Craig in the last movie. But every movie just kept going on, and they may change the actors, but it wasn't rebooted. It was never rebooted. They just told you another James Bond story until they rebooted it with Daniel Craig. I feel they can do the same thing with these superhero movies. They just have some patience.
Right.
Quit trying to see how many action figures you can make based off the movie. Quit seeing how many lunchboxes and all this other shit you can make off the movie. Make good movies.
Exactly.
Superhero movies. A lot of people in the film, they shit on the comic book movies, for one, just because they're kicking their ass. Mm-hmm. But two, it's because eventually this is what happened. It just becomes silly. And it doesn't have to become silly. There's no reason every one of them can't be a Dark Knight, and every one of them can't be No Way Home or, Captain America, stuff like that. There's no reason none of these movies, all these movies, can't be good movies. Like I said, take away the hero aspect of it. Is it still a good movie? The plot and all that, the character, is it still a good movie? If it's still a good movie, then you've transcended that. And I believe that's what these movies need. But you got to have patience. You can't just, I want to hurry up and shove these three goddamn villains into this movie that makes no sense why these three villains are all working together. Yeah. So we can do goddamn toys and lunchboxes and all this other horse T-shirts and all this other
marketing. Poor marketing.
Longevity, people. Yeah. These movies could go on forever, which I know some people, everybody don't need to go on, but they can.
Yeah, they can.
The first James Bond movie came out in the 60s.
Like how long it's been going on, man? It's been going on, 5 decades right now? And it's still, when James Bond comes out with a movie in the theater, people go see it. They watch James Bond any which way they can. And same with these superhero movies. I'm excited about next month. I have a feeling that Jared Leto is going to find the role that I've said in the last year.
I think Morbius fits him way better than the Joker.
Yeah, because when you, again, like I mentioned earlier, Ripper, when you see Robert Downey Jr., you think Tony Stark, Iron Man. Jared Leto, when you see him, you're going to think Michael Morbius, because this is going to be the role. You're going to forget about everything else. Just like later on this year, Robert Pattinson, when you see him, you're going to say the Batman. You're going to forget about the Twilight stuff he did, and I'm excited to see how Morbius is going to fall into everything that's going on with what we just see.
Did you see the scene where it's Michael Keaton as the Vulture again?
Yes.
So does Morbius exist in the MCU or the Sony universe?
Right, and I think,
or is this Michael Keaton? Is he a variant?
Who knows, man? Who knows?
Is he Vulture of a different?
Yeah. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yeah, or is he even the Vulture? You don't even know if he's the Vulture. Everybody just assumes.
Yeah, I like that interaction. He's like, "Hey, Michael Morbius, how you doing there? How's that working out for you?" I just love that. I just love that, and yeah, I'm glad that that this will be a role that Jared Leto will, like, he found that role finally. Like Robert Downey, like all the people we've seen, Chris Evans, Chris Hemsworth, Jeremy Renner, I forget his name, Benedict Cumberland, Doctor Strange. You when you see these people, that it's like that role. Jared Leto is going to have Michael Morbius, and I am excited to see how this movie unfolds and stuff. And it's going to be good, man. It's going to be good. 2022 is going to be great for a lot of TV shows, like we dropped earlier and talked about, and a lot of good stuff coming out in 2022.
Marvel, like I said, you got Moon Knight. I can't wait for Moon Knight.
That came out of nowhere, dude. Did it not?
Yeah. You got She-Hulk. You got the Armor Wars. You got Ironheart. They're talking about some of the stuff. I think is animated too.
Secret Wars. Loki season 2. What If season 2.
You got both those. Yeah. Not to mention on the other end, HBO Max has got a Peacemaker series coming out. John Cena.
Really? I didn't see that. Yeah, I think it's He was in the Suicide Squad.
The new Suicide Squad.
I didn't see him. He's
Peacemaker. I see what you're doing.
I got Robin Nelson with it. If you caught that episode, go back and watch it. I got Robin Nelson with it. You caught on quick. I didn't see it.
So you got that coming out. The CW's got that Naomi series coming out. Of course, the CW, like I said, they're starting to. When they first come out with the Arrow and stuff like that was good, and the Flash was good.
Yes.
But now they're leaning heavily into teen drama stuff, and that's just going to hurt stuff. Well, I'm glad stuff's going to HBO Max. Like the last season of Titans was great.
I still haven't seen that yet. Titans, I gotta watch it.
Titans is amazing. To me, when I watch Titans, I can't understand how the rest of the stuff isn't good. How they make anything that's bad, basically because of Titans. And like I said, it's just, if you're a comic book fan and you're a movie fan, TV fan, this is a pretty sweet time to be alive. Like I said, we got both of them doing the multiverse, although I think Marvel did it right. I think DC's so that's another one. And we got the Flash movie coming out.
Yeah.
With Michael Keaton coming back as Batman. We got the Batgirl movie coming out to HBO Max. He's supposed to be in that.
A lot of good stuff coming out, man. A lot of good stuff coming out. It's gonna be great, man. It's definitely gonna be great. And this episode has been great, man. Ripper, what I love about having you on my podcast is we could go hours and hours and talk about all this great stuff.
Oh yeah, I'll talk about superheroes.
I love it. I love it. I know it's always fun when I talk with you about when I talk to you about like superhero movies and stuff, and jumping into MCU, DC, because there's stuff that I'm like, I don't understand this, and then with you having more knowledge on the comics than what I do, it's like it came from this.
Like I said, there's big gaps in big gaps.
You fill in the gaps
because of how long I've been away from. Like I said, I play catch up. I have so many comics that I've not read that I've bought in the last couple of years. I just bought 4 more of trade paperbacks today.
Wow.
Of like the Archie superheroes that they brought back out, the Hangman, the Black Hood, the Mighty Crusaders. But yeah, and then my daughter bought me from it's called indieplanet.com. It's nothing but indie comics. And then she got me
dude,
4 comics that I had on my list.
Nice.
I read these, but if you like multiverse stuff, go to Indie Planet and get Heroes of the Multiverse.
Dude, that is awesome.
Stuff. It's got some public domain characters and stuff like that in it. Like I said, don't limit yourself, guys, to Marvel and DC. They've got cool shit, but there's tons of other cool shit out there, man. Soak it all up, grab it all.
Awesome. Well, Ripper, looks like we're coming to the end of this episode here, and I want to thank you for coming on. And before we end this episode, I want to say this is the last live stream of the Everett Lee Show for 2021. So Everett Lee is going to have us up a shot right here of this right there, Ripper.
Yeah, Jim Beam.
Honey.
Holiday. Honey.
I want to take this shot right here, but you know what? Before I do that, we got some stuff that we want to plug. I almost forgot about that. Ripper, as always, it's great to have you come on to the podcast and talk with me about everything from wrestling to comic books. And what does Ripper Blackhart have going on in this year, and to what to expect in 2022? What do you have going on?
I am done for this year as far as wrestling, although FGW is having a New Year's Eve show, but it's starting later. It's starting at 10 p.m. in Hamilton, so that they're hoping that when the ball drops, it'll be time for the main event. That is the gimmick this year. Other than that, on January 2nd, I'm Toledo Championship Wrestling. I'll be managing Idle Hines and top tier Tanner Nix against a tag team called the Outlast. And then next weekend, I told you I got the triple shot. I've got FGW every Friday night, every Friday night for Friday Night Fury. It's also a live Shockwave taping that can be seen on YouTube on Wednesday nights, roughly 7 o'clock. And then I have OCW, Ohio Championship Wrestling, next Saturday at Chappelle's in Akron, Ohio. And then next Sunday, the last Sunday show for War Wrestling, we'll go back to Saturdays after that at Lima, Ohio at the Empower Sports Center, where I managed to tag team champions, the Wise Guys. And see what else. Oh, and then this spring I'll be at the Arnold Classic for New Ohio Wrestling.
Nice.
2 days.
Nice. That is excellent, man. That is excellent. Thank you, Ripper, for coming on to the podcast tonight here on this live episode of the Everett Lee Show. And there's some other stuff that I do want to mention. Again, Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be sure to follow Podcast City Network over on Facebook, Podcast City Network, Twitter at Podcast City Net, YouTube, Podcast City Network, and subscribe to the audio version of this podcast, the Everett Lee Show, on the following: Amazon Music, Podbeam, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and on iTunes. And you want more Everett Lee? Head over to podcastcity.net/shop and head over to that part of the website to pick up some Everett Lee Show merchandise right there. And while you're there,
get some Everett Lee swag.
Get some swag.
Wearing it. All the cool kids are wearing it.
You heard Ripper. Get some swag there, Everett Lee Show swag over on podcastcity.net/shop. And while you're there, go ahead and pick up some more Podcast City Network merchandise right there. Some Podcast City Network swag and your favorite shows available over on podcastcity.net/shop. And that is it for the Everett Lee Show. And 2021, goodbye. Here is to 2022, right around the corner, Ripper. Let's see if I can take this in one swig. Ready?
You're a pussy if you don't.
Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
There you go.
What were you saying?
Proud of you, kid.
Now, if I don't drool over myself. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night and have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2022, ladies and gentlemen. Good night.
Keep up with the latest shows and content from Podcast City Network over on podcastcity.net. Follow them on facebook.com/Podcast City Network, Twitter @Podcast City Net. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, Podcast City Network, on Twitch, Podcast City Network. Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself.
Whether it's a sticker for your car, a t-shirt for that special someone, or a neck garter to keep safe during COVID-19, Podcast City Network has you covered. Grab the latest PCN gear today at podcastcity.net/shop to show your support for your favorite show or shows from Podcast City Network today. Want to start a podcast? Trying to grow your current show? Podcast City Network is here to help. We currently offer services for social media advertising, marketing, live stream hosting, custom logo design and branding, transcript services, custom intro and outro videos, audio-video editing, press kits, one-on-one consultants, and much more. So don't wait. Contact us today. podcastcity.net/services. Head over to the website, fill out the form, get in contact with Podcast City Network. Have you ever wanted to start a podcast but didn't know how? Do you already have a podcast but you don't know how to grow it? Are you trying to find ways to make your podcast profitable? You can learn how to do it here at Podcast City Network. We offer consultant services, tutorial classes to help with learning to better expand your knowledge to grow your show. We also give access to our network of shows to help with cross-promotions, guests, and overall reach while becoming a part of our ever-expanding PCN community based on people helping people. The best part is no membership fee. So what are you waiting for? Fill out the contact form below right here over on podcastcity.net/join now and sign up today. Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself. When I want to kick back a few cold ones with my friends, I head over to City Limits Taproom. City Limits Taproom has a wide selection of TVs to watch your favorite sports, indoor and outdoor seating, and they are pet friendly. City Limits Taproom also has food made fresh to order, and the grilled cheese is excellent. I recommend the grilled cheese and the apple pie cider with fries on the side. You can't go wrong with that, baby. For more information for upcoming events, head over to facebook.com/City Limits Taproom.
That's it. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I certainly did. Ripper Blackhart, thank you again for coming back on the podcast as always. He's always the first choice, and he lets me know that he's first choice no matter what I do. So thank you, Ripper Blackhart, and this is the last podcast of 2021. Just wait for 2022, the Everett Lee Show. I have a great episode kicking off 2022 with my guest for that episode. So be sure to check that out during the first week of 2022 in January. So that's about it. Follow me over on social media, Facebook, Everett Lee Show, Twitter @the Everett Lorescore Lee, Instagram, Everett Lee, and YouTube, Everett Lee. And, of course, we cannot forget Podcast City Network, your top source for independent podcasting. Be creative, be yourself. Follow them over on the website, podcastcity.net, Facebook, Podcast City Network, Twitter @PodcastCityNet, and YouTube, Podcast City Network. And you can listen more of the audio portion of this podcast, The Everett Lee Show, on the following platforms: Amazon Music, Podbeam, iHeartRadio, Stitcher Radio, and on iTunes. Have a happy new year, and we'll see you in 2022.